Hello everybody and welcome back, and let us continue. Basically from here what we want to do is, first of all, we want to find out the name of the database included in this server. Now, in order for us to do that, we use this command. So let us just add 2 for the user ID, apostrophe, and then once again union select. And then what we want to do is basically add 2 functions that will give us the name of the database and the name of the users linked to the database. So database, and then 2 parentheses, which is the syntax for the functions in the code, then comma, users, and then again 2 parentheses. And at the end we add hashtag and then the apostrophe. So let us just run this. Oops, function DVA users does not exist. So let's see what's up with that. Let me just try it like this. Function DVA users doesn't exist. So let me just check out why does it give that. It should exist. Or maybe it is user. Yeah, it was a user, so it's not the users and then parentheses, it is user and then parentheses. So as we can see, we got the name of the database with this function, and the name of the database is DVWA, and the name of the user that is correspondent to that database is DVA at localhost. Now that we got the name, we want to go further on, and let us run our next command, which we will type right here. So 2 as an ID, and then we type here again union select, then follow up with me right here. So SCHEMA underscore name, and then comma 2 from information underscore schema dot schemata, I believe that is how it is pronounced, and then we at the end specify the comment once again. Now let me just run this and then I will explain what did I run. As we can see right here, the information underscore schema has basically all configuration and information for the MySQL database. So the DVWA should be the database for this application. Now, this might be a little bit hard for you at the moment, especially if you do not have any previous SQL knowledge or knowledge about SQL injection. This is basically some of the advanced part for this, so it might take you a few times to rewatch this and search on the internet a few things in order to understand this fully, but that's okay. We'll continue right here, so you will have the material to practice once you learn all of this. Now, let's just continue. So we ran this command right here, and we can see that the DVWA is the database for this server, for this application. Now, the information, now we should send the query for tables in order to find out what tables are in the DWA database. And we can do that with this command. So we start off with the ID once again, and then union select. Then we want to select table underscore name, comma 2 from information underscore schema dot tables, where table schema equals apostrophe DVWA, which is our database. And then we specify the hashtag for the comment, and we end it with the apostrophe. We use the hashtag as a comment, so it should ignore the rest of the code that comes after the hashtag. So as we can see right here, we got 2 tables. One of it is guestbook and the other one is users. Now, you as an attacker will most likely be interested in this table called users, as it possibly could have some passwords and usernames or any other valuable information in it. So after we discover the tables, we want to basically discover the columns in those tables, and we will target this table right here, which is the users table. Now we want to find out what columns are there in that table, so we type here *union select, and also, by the way, this union select you can also type in smaller letters. It doesn't have to be capital, so you can type everything in smaller letters. I just type it in capital in order to differentiate the SQL commands from the tables and columns and all of that. So I will continue with the capital letters. So union select. Now what we want is to select column name. We also want to select the column type from information underscore schema dot columns. Now in the previous one we selected from the information underscore schema dot tables, and now we want to select from information underscore schema dot columns, where table underscore schema, let me just see, oh, I didn't type it well, so schema equals apostrophe DVWA and table underscore name equals users. And of course we end with our hashtag and then apostrophe. Now what we specified in this command, we basically said where table schema equals apostrophe DVWA, that's us selecting the database, and table name equals users, that's us selecting the table that we want to gather columns from. So if we run this right here, you will see we get a bunch of these columns in the table users. So this is our command right here. And we can see we selected the database DVWA and table name users, and we were looking for the column name and column type. The column name will be this thing, so user ID, first name, last name, user, password, avatar, and column type would be the varchar and then the number in the parentheses. Now out of all of this, we are most likely going to be interested in the password one. As we can see, for the password there is specified the 32 characters as a max for that particular input. And now that we got that, we basically want to gather all of this information and print them out on the screen. You do not want to print out just passwords, since you won't be knowing to who that password belongs. What we want to do, we want to basically print out the first name, last name, and then the user and password for that first name and last name, so we know to who that username and that password belongs to. And for that we will use a special command called concat, which will basically, as it says, concat two things for us, since we only can output two things with this application, which is the first name and the surname. So we want to be able to print all of the information in these two outputs. So what we will do, we will print the user ID, first name and last name in the first name input, in the first name output, and we will print out the username and password under the surname output. Now let me see what I mean by that. So we'll type our last command with this. So 2 for the ID, then the apostrophe, and then what we want to do is union select. And now we want to concat. First thing we want to concat would be the user ID. So user ID, as we see it right here, it is a column in the users table. So we want to split it with the dash, so we know where it ends. So we split it with dash, we add first name to it, which is the second column in the users table. You can see it right here. And then we split that by the empty space. So just open up apostrophe and then empty space and then another apostrophe and then comma, and last thing we want to print under the first output, which is last name. So this is our first. Or let me just, maybe it's easier for you, you can't really see the command right here, so let me just type it in LeafPad, and then I will copy it to the website. So let us just open LeafPad once again so you can see the whole command, since this command could be possibly a little bit hard to understand. Let me just lower this so I can also open the Firefox. I do not need this, I need this. So let's start off with the command once again. So we started off as every command, which is to as a user ID, and then apostrophe, and then union, select, and as I said, we want to concat a few information so that we can output all of them. We open parentheses, user ID, I believe it's that is the first column, as we can see right here, user ID. Then we want to type comma, and then open apostrophe, and then dash, close the apostrophe, and then another comma, and then first name, which is the second column, I believe. Let us check out. Yes, it is the first underscore name. Then we want to, basically what we want to is add a empty space so that we can also type the last name after it, and then last name, last underscore name, and close parentheses. So let us see if it is really last name. Yeah, it is last name. So after that we want to concat the username and password as well. So we type here comma and then concat, and we want to concat in the second output the user. So let me see, it is called the user. Yeah, it is right here. And the password. Now we will split these two with the two dots. So apostrophe, two dots, and then apostrophe, and then comma, password. Let me see if it is password. It should be. Yeah, it is. So we will print out the password, and we want to select from where are we selecting all this information. So from dvwa.user. I believe that's how it is called. So we will just type that right here. Or maybe it is users. Let me just check out if it says anything right here. Yes, table is called users. And then we add the hashtag, so it should ignore everything else from this command, from the rest of the code. So now that we selected all of this, let us try out this command. It shouldn't give us any error unless I mistyped something. So we copy this, we paste it right here, and then we submit. And as you can see, our output gave us all of the users, their username, their passwords, their first name, their last name, and their user ID. As we can see, in the first output, which is the first name, we got the user ID, which we concated these three things. Maybe he's a bad example. Let us go to the Gordon. So user ID for Gordon is 2. Then we added the dash. Then we added first name, then empty space, then last name for the first output, which is under the first name. As we can see, this right here corresponds to this. And in the surname section, we added the username and the password, which for the Gordon Brown, the username would be Gordon B, and then separated, we have the password right here. Now, you might be asking, these passwords look a little bit weird. That is because these are not really passwords, these are the hashed versions of the passwords. So if you try to, example, log in with this password, it won't work. This is the password that is encrypted with some algorithm. I will show you how to decrypt it in a few seconds. So let us just check out some of the other users first. So we have another user under the ID 3, which is called hack and last name me. Once again, this right here corresponds to this right here. And the user for that account, the username for that account is Pablo, and the hashed version of his password is this. We can see that in total we have 6 users right here, and we got all of their passwords. Now, we got to the end of the columns, we got all of their usernames, we got all of their passwords, all of their information, yet we still can't log in since these are hashed version of their passwords. Now, the most easiest way to find out which type of encryption are they hashed is to copy the hash itself. So let us just copy the first hash. You just copy it and just paste it in Google. And if it is a known hash, it will print out what type of hash it is. Now, since I already know this is the MD5 hash, and there are a bunch of MD5 hash websites that are used to decrypt the hash itself. As we can see, the hash MD5 is admin. So the password for the admin account is admin, as we already knew. But let us try to also decrypt all of these other passwords. So now that we know that the hash type is MD5, all of the other passwords will also be the hash type MD5. So let us just type in the Google simply MD5 decryptor. And here we can just go onto the first link, for example, it doesn't even matter. List your MD5 hashes. So stated, let me just see where do we type it. Or let me just go to this one. Free and fast MD5 encryption. Wait, I do not want to encrypt, I want to decrypt. MD5 encryption. We want MD5 decryption. Here it is, but I went one step back. I believe this is the same website. Yeah, it is. So we go to the MD5 online, free MD5 decryption, and here you just type here you just paste here your hash password, and it will decrypt it if it is in the database. So let us go with the first one. Even though we already decrypted the first one and we said it was admin, let us just check that once again. So we copy, we paste it right here. So copy, paste, decrypt, and it gives us some of the, so let us just select all images with cars. I don't know why this popped up right here, but we can verify it. Hopefully it doesn't go on with thousands of these screens. Okay, I believe it is over. And here we can see that it found the password for this hash, which is admin. Now let us try another password from different users. So let's go with the Gordon's password. We copy Gordon's hashed value of that password and we type it right here. So paste, decrypt, and once again we get this confirmation. And I also don't know why this asks, but it doesn't really matter. Let us just click OK. And let's see what Gordon's password is. And Gordon's password is ABC123. Now, you can also decrypt everyone's password right here, and if you're wondering how this works, you can just read it right here. It says MD5 is a 128-bit encryption algorithm, which generates a hexadecimal hash of 32 characters regardless of the input word size. Now, how this website works, it basically has a huge database of hashed passwords, and they are hashed and they're decrypted passwords. As we can see, there are over 1,000 billion passwords in this database, and most likely all of these hashed version of passwords, will be in that database, and you can check that. So let's just go on with all of these hashed versions. We can just type it right here, paste it, decrypt it, and it will store front. So let us just select the store front and let us decrypt the password. So for the Hack Me account, the password is Charlie. Now let us not go over all of these passwords, since it always asks me for some, either to select cars from the pictures or storefronts. It doesn't even matter, so I won't be bothering with the rest of the passwords. You can check them out if you want to, just to check what the passwords for these accounts are. I believe they are all in this database right here, since it is a huge database. And that's about it. So we successfully exploited the SQL injection we manually exploited, which is the advanced part from this. So there are a bunch of tools that automate this process, but it is good to know how this process works, and it is good to do it manually a few times in order for you to understand it. And then later on you can use other tools if you want to in order to automate this process. Now I'll just show you in the next video what is the blind SQL injection, which is a lot harder than this one since we get the output right here, but in the blind one we will not get output, and it is most likely the case that you will always encounter. So I will show you how that works. We won't cover the entire blind SQL injection since that would take a lot of time, but I will show you how you can start with it. So that was it for this lecture, and I hope I see you in the next one. Bye.